Okay, welcome everybody to the Friday morning warm-up number 111, and we've got our usual mixture of things to do today. We'll crack on with the clapping pattern to start with, and it's the same as last week. It's the rhythm, or the break, taken from the tune Oye Como Va, as played by Tito Puente, and it's also played by John Seeley's Thursday Workshop band when they perform this tune. And I'll put in a little plug right now while I remember. They're playing at the Chalkwell Park Rooms in Southend on Thursday evening, the 29th of September. And there's a wide repertoire of tunes, old and new, jazz and sort of more popular, and including this particular tune. And it's I think it's tickets available. I think you need to get a ticket, or you can just turn up. I'm sure there'll be room on the door. And this is one of the tunes they play. It's a sort of a big band made up of people who go to John's Thursday evening workshop. So it's great fun. Anyway, let's crack on. We're going to play this rhythm, which is part of one of the tunes that John's band plays. So we did it last week. We're just going to do it again. We're just going to play it for 4 bars. It's not something that's normally repeated. So we're just going to. So there's a little bit of practice in counting rhythms and clapping at the same time. So here we go. After 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just do that a little bit slower, because if you're unfamiliar with it, it's quite a lot of different sort of rhythms going on there. So let's do that again, much slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, a little bit faster, and then we'll get it up to the speed of the recording. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Right, well, I'll do 2 more of them. First one, a bit under speed. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. And then finally, I think the record, the Santana record, which is on their album Abraxas, if you want to check that out, is roughly 128 beats a minute. Probably a little bit faster than the big band play it. But they always say learn things a bit faster than you're going to have to do it, then it'll be comfortable on the night. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Righty ho, there's our little clapping pattern for today. Let's move on. So if you'd like to get your instrument, and today's general key is B flat major. So we're going to start by, I'm just going to hold down the note B flat, and you can just tune in and just play some notes to warm up your instrument. Okay, and So we're going to do the chromatic scale now. So starting on B flat, concert B flat, so C for your B flat instruments and G for the alto E flat instruments. And we'll start at a nice steady pace of about 75 beats per minute. So, okay, B flat, concert B flat, up to B flat and all the way down again chromatically. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now down. Okay, and again. 2, 3, 4. And let's speed that up, so sort of noticeably faster. So here we go, extra concentration required. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit. We'll do 2 more. One considerably fast, well, not considerably, but a brisk walking pace. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll do 1 more, which is somewhat faster. After 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Lovely. Right, I hope that went well for you, and that's the chromatic scale. So that means we're now going to move on to the exercise sheet. So if you'd like to get hold of that, get that up on the screen or on the music stand in front of you. And I'll start to introduce it. As of course you know, it's one we have done before, but in a different key. So just working through these every few weeks in different keys. This particular one is about guide tones, and in particular we're going to look at guide tones, these particular notes you can play over a progression known as a 2-5-1. So in any particular key, a 2-5-1 is a chord, or 3 chords, one which starts on the 2nd position of the scale. So if it was C, that would be D minor, and then goes to the 5 position, the dominant chord, so that would be G in the case of C, and then back to the 1, which is the tonic of the key, the C. So 2-5-1 in C major, for example, would be D minor, G, and C. And you can include the 7th as well if you like. So it's something to get familiar with if you're not already, and perhaps if you're trying to get to sleep at night, just run through your head all the 2-5-1s possible, and you won't get to the end. And you'll wake up in the morning and remember that you got halfway through. So, okay, knowing your 2-5-1s is always a useful thing to know in music. Okay, so we're going to look first of all at the top line, and we're in the key of B flat major, concert B flat. You should have your particular keys on the sheet in front of you. And we're going to start with the 2 chord, the 2nd position of B flat major. So that means starting on the C. So the scale I've got on the left hand side there, the first 2 bars, is B flat major, but starting on the note C, going up to C and coming back down to C. And you'll see why we're playing this in a minute. So let's just play that, those 2 bars. So the concert key, but starting on the 2nd degree and going up an octave and down again. First 2 bars that are shown. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that might be unfamiliar because it's not the usual minor scale, so I'm just going to slow it down a bit. I did feel a little bit fast. Let's play that again. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of you may think or know this as the Dorian scale or Dorian mode. It is, but we're not looking at it in that sense today, but something to think about. Here we go, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, okay, so we've got the scale, the B flat scale there from C to C, the second position to the second and back. And one reason for doing that is so that we can then work out what the arpeggio is for the chord which is in the second position. So that will be the first, third and the fifth and the seventh of that scale that we've just done. So the next two bars you'll see the first, the third, the fifth and the seventh of that scale that we've just done. And that will be the C minor, concert C minor arpeggio. So we're now going to play the bars 3 and 4 of the top line, the C minor 7, concert C minor 7 arpeggio. Watch out for the crotchets in the last bar, suddenly changes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. So that's the 2 chord, the second degree chord of the 2-5-1 taken care of. We're just going to work through the next two. So that's all we're doing at the moment, just establishing the arpeggios for the 2-5-1 in this particular key, in the key that you've got in front of you. Just sorting out the chords before we even get on to guide tones. So, right, we're on to the second line now. We're looking at the 5 chord. So in the concert B, in B flat major, that will be F or F7. If you're in C, it will be G7. I think these are chords you should know by now, as we've looked at them quite often, but just to remind you. And if you're in G major, it'll be D7. So they're the dominant 7th chords of the particular key. So let's play the first 2 bars of the second line. So this is just the major scale, but it's starting from the 5th and going up to the 5th and back down again. And some of you may know this as the Mixolydian mode. Again, that's not important today, but that's just a name it's got as well. Okay, here we go. Second line, first 2 bars. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. So that's the 5 5th position of the scale. So let's now work out the arpeggio for the chord F7, concert F7. So that'll be the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th and the 7th of that scale that we've just played. So that's the bars 3 and 4 of the second line. Okay, so we're now going to play what is effectively a dominant 7th arpeggio. Here we go. Bars 3 and 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the 5 chord, or the dominant 7th of the key. And now onto the 3rd line, and we're back to the tonic, the actual key scale. So it's going to be obviously in key of B flat, it's going to be B flat to B flat. So this is actually just the major scale, the 1. And if you are thinking of modes, as I have been mentioning them, this will be the ionic scale. So right, I'm just going to do B flat major to B flat concert, and much more familiar scale. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, just in the same way we have been doing with the others, we're going to work out the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th, and get the chord, which, when you work it out from that scale, you'll get the B flat major 7th chord. Because when you take the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th, and the 7th of a major scale, that's what you get every time, if you start on the 1. So let's play bars 3 and 4 of the 3rd line, the major 7th. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 2, 3, 4. Good. So on the right hand side of the sheet so far, what we've done is we've just outlined the 3 arpeggios for a 2-5-1 chord sequence. So in concert key, that's C minor 7, F7, B flat major. And you will, in a lot of songs, you will see that chord sequence appear. Less so in modern pop music, more so in Tin Pan Alley music, songs from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, and classical music, of course, as well. But that's a common chord sequence. Now, we get onto this subject of guide tones, and what guide tones are, essentially, in a nutshell, they are the 3rds and the 7ths of those chords, or arpeggios, which is why I've broken them down into the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th, so that you can see the 3rd and the 7th of each of those chords. Because in bar 3 on each line, it's the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. So the 3rd is the second one, and the 7th is the last one. And so the guide tones are generally known as the 3rds and 7ths, although there are others. That may be in a later date. But and the important thing about the 3rd and the 7th of a chord is they are the notes which define that chord. The root and the 5th kind of tell you roughly where it is in the scale of things, but it's the 3rd which defines whether it's major or minor, very important, and the 7th defines whether it's a major 7th or a minor 7th, and they are the 2 strongest characteristics of a chord. So by playing the notes, the 3rd and the 7th, you're basically playing the chord. Someone listening to it will know at the back of their mind whether it's a major 7th or a minor 7th or a dominant 7th. or a minor dominant 7th, by just hearing those two notes. So they are really the most important characteristics of a chord. They're often used in melodies just because of that, for that reason, to give that strong sort of feeling, but also by playing them close to each other in terms of pitch, a semitone apart, for example, you create a strong movement of harmony from one chord to the next in the melody. And this is quite important. If you listen to the strings behind a singer, they're often moving through thirds and sevenths in order to outline the harmony as well as create a pretty sound in the background. So they get used in all sorts of areas. Some guitarists, especially jazz guitarists, will only play the thirds and the sevenths, possibly the root as well, in order to play a chord, rather than playing big sort of 6-string chords. They'll just play the third and the seventh. That's just a little example of playing a third and the seventh of a minor chord, followed by the third and seventh of a dominant 7th, followed by the third and seventh of a major 7th, which is what we're talking about. So and you can hear the movement of the chords just from those two notes. Right. So let's play some of those notes. Well, you've got the we're on the 4th line now, and I'm going to play on the chords. I'm just going to play the 2-5-1 in question. If you're a piano player, you can play that as well, or guitarist. But what I'd like you to do actually is to play those notes shown in front of you and hear them at the same time as I'm playing the chords, so you can feel how they're sitting in the chord. So the first one is the third of the 2 chord. Yeah. The next one is the 7th of the 5 chord. And then that resolves to the third of the 1st chord. They do generally alternate 3rd, 7th, 3rd, 7th. So just see how it sounds, and then we'll just try a couple of other examples. Here we go. So just play in this sort of time signature. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah. So you would have played something which would sound roughly like this. Yeah. So you're playing the third, 7th, 3rd, and again 1, 2, 3, 4. Dun, dun, dun. Doesn't sound particularly exciting, but that, of course, this is just only a tiny segment of a song. One more time. So first 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dun, dun. Okay, so the first note was the third of the 2 chord, the next was the 7th, as written on the sheet there. So if we go to the bars 3 and 4, we're doing it the other way around. We're starting with the 7th of the 2 chord, then the 3rd. So we're, yeah, the other one, the other guide tone. So just play the bars 3 and 4, and you'll hear the 7th, 3rd, and 7th. You'll hear how one leads to the other. They're not jumping about all over the place. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That sort of sound. Here we go. One more time. 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay, so they're the guide tones for those particular chords. Now let's put the 2 together, the 2 guide tones, and if you're on a guitar or a piano or a ukulele, you can play the 2 at the same time, and you get effectively, as I said earlier, the whole chord, the whole sound of the chord. I've just shown that there. So the single line instruments, you can still play along, But the ukuleles, guitars and pianos, if you'd like to play those two notes at the same time, so we're on the next line now, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm only playing those two notes, but you can hear how it sounds like the big chords. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all those notes in those pairs will be thirds or sevenths again. Now let's take this into the next level and actually make up a melodic line which takes us through thirds and sevenths. So it starts to become a little bit more tuneful, but at the same time still having that seventh moving to the third sort of feel when the chord changes, in order to that's when we're getting into sort of voice leading, where the voice, the singer, is actually pulling the melody through the chord changes. So I'd like you to play bars 3 and 4 of this line, where it says melodic combination of above line. You're going to play that sequence there, those crotchets, and I'm going to play the chords underneath so you can hear the harmony match the chords. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it'll be quite tuneful, quite pretty. Certainly won't be discordant, but you have got sevenths in there. Here we go, and again. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, a melody made up just of thirds and sevenths. Let's go on to the bottom line now, and I've just got a couple more melodic phrases here using guide tones. So again, if you'd like to play the first two bars on the bottom line, and the chord is changing halfway through the bar, and if you look there you'll see, well, there's a B flat on the concert sheet anyway, C for other people, and G. Dipping a semitone down to the A when the chord changes. So it's going from the 7th of the first chord to the 3rd of the second chord. Right. If this is all brand new to you, then it's going to take a little bit of going back and looking over, because it's obviously quite involved, but I hope it's making some sort of sense. Okay, so you play the first two bars of the bottom line. I'll play the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 1 more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. And just one more example now. So the last two bars of the sheet, I'll do exactly the same thing, just play the two chords, and you'll play those two bars of the melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay. All right. Well, they're just a sort of introduction, really, to guide tones, the thirds and the sevenths. and of the chords, and just showing how important they are in outlining the chord and in bringing out the characteristics of the chord. In fact, defining the chords, really. As I say, the third tells you whether it's a major or a minor chord, the seventh whether it's a major seventh or a minor seventh, and really chords are either a mixture of those two. They've all got roots, they've all got fifths. Okay, some rare ones have flattened fifths, but on the whole they've got normal fifths. So the root and the fifth. And just another thing about playing in a group, band, especially in jazz groups, the bass player is usually playing the roots and the fifths. So it doesn't need yet another person playing the roots and the fifths if you're in an accompanying sort of position. So you can concentrate on the thirds and the sevenths, and the whole chord will be there in the music. So the bass player is playing the root and the fifth mainly, and you can play the third and seventh, and the whole chord is available for listeners. Right, let's move on to the final part of today's session, and that will be the chords sequence. Okay, so I've got on the screen there the basically the chords I've been playing, the 2, 5, 1 in this particular example. Of course, you know, guide tones work over other chord sequences, but this is a common one to start with. So I'm just going to strum those chords, and you can do what we've just been doing, or if you just wanted to mess around in the major key and try some ideas out, or strum along, then you're welcome. So here we go, just for the last minute, I'm just going to strum those chords, just a bar of each chord there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finish on the tonic. The B flat there. There we go. Okay, everybody, and that's it, folks. So thank you very much, everybody. I won't be here next week again. The summer season will soon be, well, I won't say it will be over, but you know, this time of the year things do happen quite a bit. So I won't be here next week, and see you in 2 weeks' time, hopefully. And that'd be great. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.